Welcome to Special-Lite's Heavy Wall Applied Stop Tube Frame and Door Installation video presentation. Be sure to also read all the printed installation instructions. These instructions are provided to help prevent problems caused by most common errors. They are strictly recommendations and are not intended to be a step-by-step, foolproof installation suitable for every situation. There are many variations of installations not covered in this video that Special-Lite assumes are general construction knowledge to an experienced installer. Selection of an experienced installer is the sole responsibility of the project owner or responsible party. Failure to follow good practice in installation will void the warranty on Special-Lite products. To avoid product damage, be sure to remove all staples when opening the shipping cartons. Do not open the cartons with a knife. It is important to mark all parts and pieces that are removed from the framing when unpacking. Snap stops are shrink-wrapped to their proper locations and should be marked to make sure they are reinstalled in the same position. Orient all components with fixed stops on the inside of the building. Check for proper inside or outside glazing and verify that all frame components are oriented in the same direction. Please note that the Special-Lite standard is to glaze from the exterior side of the frame. In retrofit situations, it is particularly important to recheck the rough opening dimensions. Next, measure the new frame and compare to the rough opening dimensions to make sure everything is sized and located correctly. This is particularly important in retrofit situations before demolition of the old opening. The next step is to mark the fastener hole locations. Position each tube in the opening. First, mark the mounting hole locations approximately 4 inches from both ends of the vertical tubes. Then mark additional mounting locations on the frame. Mounting holes should be spaced no more than 24 inches apart. Now mark the mounting locations in the header. It's important to note that a minimum of 2 mounting fasteners are required per header, with additional fasteners spaced no more than 24 inches apart. Be sure to place a header mounting fastener as close as possible to both sides of each vertical frame member. Frame mounting fasteners in the door jamb should be located beneath the door stops. Mark the position of the door stop on the door jamb. Then mark the mounting hole locations on the door jamb. The door stops are reapplied after the frame installation is complete. Next, let's go over some important tips on drilling the mounting holes. First of all, it's important to understand there is no need to remove the applied glass stops. Proper installation requires that the mounting holes be drilled through the glass stops. Your mounting screws should be 1/4 inch or larger. Drill through holes 1/16 of an inch larger than the thread diameter of the mounting screws at all the mounting hole locations you've marked on the frame. Be sure to drill clearance holes large enough for the fastener heads and driver to pass through to the frame interior at all mounting hole locations. Now, remove the factory-installed clip screws and apply caulk around the frame clips. It's important during assembly that the frame components are carefully caulked at all joints. Be sure to use caulk of the same color as the framing. Clear caulk should not be used. Next, slide the horizontal frame members onto the frame clips and reinstall the clip screws. Be sure to wipe off any excess caulk. When the depth of the sill necessitates, use of floor clips may be required. Install the clips exactly in line with the frame position. Do not use steel floor clips due to potential corrosion between dissimilar metals. Once the frame is fully assembled with joints caulked, tip the frame assembly upright into the opening, making sure it is properly positioned on the floor anchor clips if used. To adjust the frame assembly alignment, place the threshold across the door opening to keep the latch jamb and hinge jamb parallel. Use cedar wood shims to secure the frame assembly in the opening. Special-Lite does not provide these shims. Next, take a level and make sure the door jambs are plumb and the header is level. Do not rely on a visual check or a tape measure for accurate frame alignment. Using a professional grade level is recommended. Shim the top and bottom corners only at this time. Do not install any mounting fasteners at this point. The door or doors must be installed now to allow proper frame adjustment. After removing the door from the box, remove the screw pack that is placed under the hinge leaf. Be sure to open the hinge leaf and replace the screw that was holding the pack in place. If the hinge was not installed in the factory, install the hinge to the door now. Hang the door or doors in the frame with 3 screws in the hinge jamb, one at the top, the middle, and the bottom. Now, close the door and check for Special-Lite recommended clearances. These include 1/8 inch at the strike jamb on single doors, 3/16 inch at mating doors, 1/8 inch at the header, and 3/16 to 1/4 inch at the bottom. Make any adjustments as needed to the frame to get the doors to align properly. Install the remaining hinge screws per the manufacturer's instructions. Now it's time to mount the frame assembly. Place shims behind all frame mounting holes. Shim the frame at horizontals to keep the joints tight when anchoring. Make sure not to over-tighten the shims. Drill anchor holes for the fasteners into the subframe or rough opening through the mounting holes in the frame. Next, anchor the frame assembly using minimum 1/4 inch diameter fasteners that penetrate at least 1 inch into the rough opening. Be sure to squeeze caulk into the sill frame mounting holes before installing the fasteners. Once all the anchor screws are installed, trim the shims flush to the frame. Now reapply the door stops removed earlier. Here are a few tips on sealing the frame perimeters. First, apply caulk along the interior and exterior edges of the frame. Next, seal the clearance holes in the sill with caulk. Now, let's take a look at measuring for mullion installation. At the mullion location on the header, measure between the header and the floor for the length of the mullion when using removable door stops. Next, mark the dimension on the mullion post from the bottom up and trim from the top of the mullion post. If the mullion is being installed prior to finished floor coverings or tiles, the optional shim block provided by Special-Lite must be used. An additional 1/2 inch must be subtracted before cutting the mullion to length. To install the bottom block, close both doors and mark the floor at the center of the gap between the doors. Now, slide the mullion onto the top block and set the bottom in the correct position with or without a shim as required. Next, align the center line of the mullion on the center line of the door gap and mark all 4 sides of the mullion post on the floor. Then remove the mullion and set it aside. Align the lock block and shim if needed, centered between the marks on the floor and even with the marked mullion front edge. The lock block must be installed with the locking bolt hole oriented to the interior side of the opening. Mount the bottom block to the floor, with or without a shim as required. Place the mullion over the top block and slide the bottom of the mullion over the floor lock block and check for fit and operation of the locking mechanism. If a threshold is required, it should be coped for the mullion. Check for proper door clearance. Use grout if necessary to build up the threshold to the correct height. Secure the threshold with the appropriate fasteners and then caulk the interior and exterior of the threshold. Follow the manufacturer's recommendation for installation of additional hardware that was not already installed at the factory. Be careful when drilling for closer mounting screws. Do not drill any hole deeper than 9/16 of an inch at the tie rod location. Refer to your installation instructions or the sticker on the doors for the location of the tie rod and closer reinforcement plate in the diagram shown here. For proper function, all hardware must be field adjusted after the door has been hung. Let's take a look at some important frame glazing procedures. Sort all snap stops for each opening to reinstall where removed. Each opening will have a removable snap stop at the sill with weep slots. Compensate for shrinkage by compressing as much gasket as possible into the retaining channel and trim to length. Pre-assembled frame sections are caulked at the factory. If the frames are assembled in the field, you must caulk the inside corners of the glass stops. Be sure to promptly remove any excess caulk from the gasket channel. Next, install the factory-supplied setting blocks at the quarter points. Place the glazing or panel in position on the setting blocks, centered side to side. Install the snap stops, starting with the top horizontal piece, then the weep slotted sill piece. Now you can install the remaining vertical snap stops. Refer to your printed installation instructions for snap stop installation tips. If Special-Lite Class A fire-rated skins on architectural panels are used, the rated side of the panel is marked with a sticker indicating the interior side only. Class A sheeting must be used on the interior side. If exposed to sunlight, Class A skin colors may discolor. Now remove all the exposed production stickers from the doors and frames. Thanks for watching this Special-Lite installation video. Printed installation instructions for all Special-Lite products can be found at Special-Lite's website at www.special-lite.com. If you have additional questions about installation techniques for your particular project, please call 1-800-821-6531 and ask for a Special-Lite customer service representative or training manager.